Hey everybody, it's James here with Board Game Spotlight. I am joined today by Ivan Van Norman, aka Daddy Chops,
Yo,
aka Hydra Lord,
that's it.
aka there's quite a few options there. So,
Hey, you know what? The men with the fine facial hair, we have to stay together.
That is right. That is right. You know, I shaved one time and then I instantly regretted it. So we won't do that again.
Well, hey man, don't that beard puts food on your kid's table.
It does.
So don't get rid of it.
It does sometimes. So big day for you. You just launched Outbreak, Undead Second Edition. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on there.
Yeah, so Outbreak Undead Second Edition is the zombie survival simulation RPG, which first came out at Gen Con 2010.
Wow.
At the beginning of the golden age, I would like to say. We brought it out. It was a big hit. We were in Entrepreneur's Alley, and the whole thing kind of stemmed from this craze around 2009 to 2011-ish about people's zombie survival plans.
Right.
And so everyone had a copy of like the Max Brooks Survival Guide, and everyone was always talking about, hey, what's your zombie survival plan? And we went out to the market and we realized, wow, no one's actually created a game that really lets you like test your zombie survival plan in the interactive storytelling format that is so good to role-playing games. So we just did it. We made one.
So this has been essentially 8 years in the making.
Well, the first edition came out 2010.
2010. 7. I'm from Alabama. Math's hard.
Right, but that's fair. But then since we put out the first one, it was our first product as a company.
Okay.
And so this is like our chance to come back and pay homage to the legacy piece that was our start. And second edition is essentially showing how much we've matured as a company over an 8 to 9 years. Because, oh my God, does it look so much better than the first book.
Yeah, that happens.
Better. It looks better, and it just makes more goddamn sense.
Sure.
Sure.
So okay, so I've only dabbled in the RPG world. So kind of give me a breakdown of, so if I'm a beginner, and I think a lot of my audience is board game centric. So if you're a brand new beginner, so kind of give us that, and then also give us if you're a veteran to the RPG world.
So for people who may not be super familiar with role-playing games, this is essentially a cooperative storytelling game that allows you to interpret your dice results in order to tell your story of survival. So what that means is that the game is essentially a tool set in order to run a survival horror experience. And while it's all on the tabletop, you can think about it like an open world sandbox video game, really more than anything.
Right. And
that you can take all of these different pieces in order to create the kind of experience that you want. And the reason that this is kind of fun is that we're able to kind of give people certain chunks in order to take it at their own speed. So the game, the rule books are actually broken down into 3 kind of levels of rules, or like they can be levels of rules, levels complexity, or level of realism, depending on how you want to look at it.
Okay.
So green is like arcade mode. It's the basic rules in order to just even play the game. It's not extremely realistic, and it just kind of plays like a first-person shooter. But if you just want to like get that basic element of survival horror into play, you just read all the rules that have the green highlighter on it, which we call arcade. Then if you want, you can bump it up a notch and go up to the yellow edition of the rules, which we call Weekend Warrior, which just adds a little more variables into it, and as a result makes it a little more realistic. And then for the hardcore survivalists, the bullet counters of our world, essentially the bunker creating friends that we all know and love, and everybody's got one, you know.
Yeah.
There's the red line, and so we like to say that Outbreak Undead is it shines the best when you run it red, and you basically have this intensely crunchy survival horror element that has a strong set of rules. But the good news is that if you've been doing it right, you've already been playing with green and yellow up before then, so just incorporating the red rules, it's kind of like tiers of learning.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is a lot easier than just trying to get 350-page rule book and try to absorb the whole thing in one reading. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what's feels like helps people who aren't in the RPG space. And the other thing that makes it, Brandon, I think you wanted to touch on this a little bit later, is just to create yourself as a character.
Okay. Yeah.
You know? Being able to, one of the things that I believe makes this system shine is that we ask you to test your zombie survival plan, and you do that by creating yourself as a character. We have a 40-question personality test that is on our website that when it's done will pop out your core stats if you're to play yourself as a character.
I'm writing that down. I'm totally doing that.
It's called the SPEW AI, Strength, Perception, Empathy, and Will Assessment Index, because we actually had people who had doctorates in psychology that specialize in research and testing help us design this thing, because Chris De La Rosa, my co-creator, his original bachelor's degree was in psychology. So we just pulled from that research field in order to help us make a, it's not quantitative and it's not, it can't actually ever be used for research, but we do have 250,000 submissions into it at this point.
So it's like Myers-Briggs for zombie survival.
You got it. And it's only 40 questions instead of 250 or whatever Myers-Briggs is.
I'm afraid to do it. I'll probably just be spit out as zombie food.
You and I both, man. Yeah. Game designer, crunchy zombie meat. So
yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, that sounds, because typically in RPGs, I'm rolling a dwarf paladin or something. It's not myself. So that's pretty interesting that you can actually be like, I'm gonna just be James up in this world.
Yeah. And the best part is that your practical experience, James, can be quantified into the game based on a mechanic that we have called Gestalt. So your practical experience, for example, if you can make a call to the GM that says that you feel like your practical experience would apply into the situation,
right?
You can actually take a dice. You can take dice from a dice pool that represents your age, your Gestalt pool, and roll up permanent stat bonuses to whatever you're making a case for. So you can actually develop the person who is you over the time. Because in theory, if you have your Gestalt dice completely emptied, you have a very accurate version of yourself because you're making these little tweaks as you go in order to refine your character.
That totally makes sense. It kind of sounds like this is something that would really set this apart from other RPGs that are out there, because there are quite a few. Was there anything else besides probably creating yourself in this system that you built?
Yeah, the avatar system is kind of, because there are a few companies or a few games that do avatars, create yourself as a character, but they don't really do it in the way that we do with the quantitative testing and the ability to refine after character creation. Like, that's kind of unique to us.
Okay.
But beyond that, a lot of it is stuff that people are pretty familiar with out in the role-playing game world. It's a degree of success, degree of failure percentile system. So you roll on 2d10s for a result of 1 to 100, and you're basically trying to hit a target number, say 45, and roll under that number.
Okay.
And then that number, depending on how well or how poorly you roll, will generate resources that you then use to tell the story. So if you've got degrees of success, you use that to validate the successes that are happening in that situation. If you roll degrees of failure, you're using that as a story element in order to validate the bad things that are happening. So
I roll the dice and I kick the bucket. That's typically what happens.
The bucket, yeah. You literally kicked a bucket, and now all the zombies are coming after you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
perfect. Yeah. But beyond that, like, we have a great one of the mechanics that's available in the system is what we call survival points and risk.
Okay.
So you can kind of think of this as like awards or points for all the people who are more familiar with board gaming system.
Sure.
That this is currency that you can actually use to kind of power play in the game with your players and your GMs. So players are attempting to get survival points, which is Outbreak Undead's equivalent of like experience points, because you don't really get experience points out in the real world. You don't level up in real life. But the more stuff you have, the more prepared you are, the more resources you have, the more likely you are to survive. So that's what survival points represent.
Okay.
At the same time, every single time a player goes out into the world, they are putting themselves at risk. By even walking out the door, you are creating a risky environment for yourself. So you are generating risk as players. So GMs can spend risk in order to make unbiased hazards that are in the ways of their players, while players are going out to complete missions or gain resources in order to earn survival points.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally, I mean, totally makes sense, because, like I said, you don't level up. I made a joke on my birthday last month that I leveled up to 35. But it even sounded goofy, because like we just don't level up in life. That's
no, but it's unfortunately. But, I mean, we do it because we're gamers and we quantify our own life existence.
Right.
But yeah, but in the traditional sense of like you didn't gain a tech tree, on 35. As much as we'd all like to unlock the next element of our tech tree on our birthday, it just comes with time, practice, and experience.
So I was checking out some of the stretch goals because the page is, like you said, the art looks fantastic. It looks like a world that I want to dig into and learn more about. So I was looking at the stretch goals, and there's a bunch of really cool ones on there. What's like your favorite stretch goal that you're hoping you get to unlock?
So I think my favorite one that I'm most excited to unlock is we have a couple of premium add-ons that I'm really, really excited about that I think people are going to get. So one of our stretch goals is that you get all of the premium add-ons that are unlocked in the campaign. So right now, like since we haven't fully funded, we're damn near close, but we haven't fully funded. At this stage, no one's going to be getting any premium add-ons. But there's some great stuff that I think is going to hopefully get to that point so that players can get the full value of what that tier means.
Sure.
And because it's $120 worth of stuff if we can unlock all the premium add-ons. And my favorite, I think, is actually what I'm calling the Survivor's Notebook.
Okay.
And the game has available to it reference cards. So they're kind of like simple, easy to read reference cards that either have gear or maybe some ability traits that you took during character creation, or weapons, or even just like loot, knickknacks, what am I calling it? Cement, not dry cement, not wet cement, but plastic cement.
Right.
Or just 2x4s, or a can of nails, stuff to help make your stronghold better is what we call loot. So there's a great survival notebook that is essentially like a card sleeve that you can put your cards into that represent what your character has in the game. That will also fit your character sheet. And then also in the back, it has a thing called a time tracker, since the day is pretty much broken down into 20 time to represent like easy on a D20.
Right.
You can literally keep a journal of what happened during that day. Time 1, woke up. From time 1 to time 4, I did my first shift. Noticed nothing. From time 5, breakfast. Time 6, 7, 8, raid mission. It's like you could literally have a survivor's journal that your GM can use to reference, and it's so much more interesting than just like writing fluff or notes that you usually get in a lot of kind of role-playing game scenarios.
Huh, that's awesome. Yeah. All that stuff. I want to like get my hands on it. I want to.
It's tasty. It's super tasty. And then we have our old T-shirt that we released 8 years ago that says your zombie survival plan will fail on it.
Right.
And it was extremely popular. We kind of got rid of all of them in the first couple of years, and we haven't reprinted them since then because those shirts actually helped fund the first print run of the book. Okay. So we're actually bringing it back with your zombie survival plan will still fail. And we're really hoping to unlock that one as well.
That's awesome. So, okay, tell me about the pledge tiers, because there's quite a few. If for that beginner, for our board game folks who might be interested in just dipping their toe in, and then for our survivalists.
If you're just like someone who's interested in getting into survival horror and you've never played a role-playing game before, I just highly, highly, highly recommend you just get the either Survivor or Stock Survivor pledge. If you want that hardcover book and you want to get that Survivor's Guide and you just want to read over and what it would be like to be a player, because the campaign's pretty much broken into two main books, the Survivor's Guide and the GM's Guide. So if you just want to get your feet wet, I just recommend you grab that $50 tier, because that's the price of the book, and it will give you all the stretch goals, all the PDF stretch goals. It'll give you a lot of other stuff beyond just the book itself. As well, Stock Survivor, which is the $65 one, will give you a bunch of reference cards or some loot decks if you want to look through and kind of see how those play. You'll get, essentially $12, or you'll get $18 worth of standard add-ons for $15, which is just kind of an easy an easy beat if you're interested in some of that stuff. Now, if you're a hardcore and you really want to get everything in the campaign, then I would be doing an injustice if I didn't explain the bug out bag, because at the very bottom at $375, we're giving you everything in the campaign, all the premium add-ons, all of the standard add-ons, and it is a giant. It's all going into a real life, what do they call it? Alpine Mountaineer military service backpack that has a 3-liter water bladder inside of it, and we're just gonna fill it with real survival stuff, like a real survival kit materials on top of all of the stuff from the campaign.
Like bourbon.
So, that's my favorite because it's super freaking cool.
Yeah, it does look cool. Okay. When does this, when we get funded? Because, I mean, you've been up for like 5 minutes and it's almost funded already, so that's awesome. High five.
Yeah,
but,
thank you.
When do we deliver? When do we deliver?
So we're estimating, and we are reaching far to do a Gen Con 2018 release.
Okay.
Because we're actually pretty far in layout on the survival guide already, as it is. And a lot of the we're basically still just going through the process of editing a lot of the other books. So this campaign will help us determine what else we need to get in through production. But beyond that, we're really hoping to get this thing to the printers by next summer so that it can be available at Gen Con 2018.
Sweet. All right. So 2 things in wrapping up. One, dude, I dig your passion on this. You can tell when somebody's really excited about something they've made. You know, you don't have to really think. You're just like, it's just pouring out of you. I love it. So I'm definitely going to be diving into this and checking it out, just because if you're that excited about it, it's got to, plus zombies. So what else do you got going on outside of this? I know there, when we talked at Gen Con, I think we sit there for 30 minutes and I just listened to you talk about all the craziness that you've got lined up. So anything that you can talk about?
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm just a man of a million ideas, and some of them come into play. Sometimes they don't, and that's perfectly fine. I do have a lot of stuff that's going on over at Geek and Sundry at this moment. We just shot the 2nd season of Sagas of Sundry. This one was titled Madness, and a 30-second brief on that is that it's basically an interactive RPG show using the system Dread, in which we have a fully immersive set with fully immersive characters doing skill challenges that are absolutely insane. So it's a little bit like it sounds like the worst idea on paper, but it's a reality show, RPG show, theater piece.
Yep. I am behind the alpha, and so I've watched quite a few of those episodes, and super entertaining. Yeah, super entertaining.
So we have that, and then we are going to be announcing very soon a new RPG that we're going to be bringing to market with Doug Letovansky and Jonathan Gilmore called Kids on Bikes. So Hunter's Books is officially going to be publishing that, so we'll be bringing that to Kickstarter market very soon for the announcement of Stranger Things. I think is probably the best time for it.
Yeah.
But that will probably be a Q1 or Q2 release for us as well too.
Okay.
So
You said the magic word. You said Jonathan Gilmore.
Yeah.
Like spin around 3 times.
Gilmore.
Say Jonathan Gilmore.
I don't know how many RPGs he's published, but this is the first one of his that I've seen, and it's really good.
Okay.
It is really, really good. It's basically it's a 40-page folio. It's a 40-page world-building RPG about kids in strange things happening in the 80s, and there's literally character sheets broken down into kids, or child, kid, and then adult, and it's basically your opportunity to run like Goonies, Stranger Things, all the kind of like 80s adventures of stuff. So it draws some comparisons with Tales from the Loop, but this is much more about world building.
Sure.
And it has a very unique kind of backpack mechanic, which makes me start to feel like it's more like Goosebumps than like Tales from the Loop, which is very much a very identified and pre-established world.
Sure.
This is like a world building RPG.
I just want to do some like adventures in babysitting type situation.
Yeah, or choose your own adventure novels.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, we're talking with Jonathan about it too. But my goal is to actually serialize it and make it into like a YA size series that we can go and do all these unique worlds in. So
awesome. to be awesome.
Super cool.
All right, Daddy Chops. I think that wraps it up. You have got a ton going on. Super stoked about this Outbreak Undead 2nd Edition. It looks dope. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you taking the time to just sit and hear me ramble about it.
Sure. This is what we do, man. We're the luckiest people in the world. Like,
I know, what is life?
Pinch myself every day that I'm like, I'm not in the corporate world anymore. I'm not sitting in any boring meetings that I didn't want to be in to begin with. Now, when I go meet with somebody, I'm talking about cool shit that they're doing, and it's exciting.
I'm still doing boring meetings as well too, but it's all about content that I really like. So
sure.
I also think it's fun too seeing your background of board games, and then we're literally on the same boat. It's like we both got our collection of what's going on there at the moment.
That's one side of the room. I probably should. Anyway, we don't get into that. Okay, awesome. Thanks, man, and talk to you soon.
I'll see you later. Bye.